Well, I do have to be honest and say that last night's camping experience ranks as one of the all-time lows in my life. I couldn't get the fire going for the life of me if I tried, so I had to cook a horrible meal on my cook stove, and I could only eat about a third of it before I had to throw the rest of it away. The mosquitoes were just fierce, and they're out again in full effect this morning. And when it isn't an awesome experience and I have a night like last night, you don't want to hear that. You want to hear and see how awesome it is so that you can get inspired and go out and do it yourself instead of listening to me complain about it. But it's important to think about what is good, to count my blessings. Physically, I'm doing okay. The bike is running good. I am on a vacation, so to speak, in a beautiful place like Vancouver Island. And so in a lot of ways, this trip isn't the worst thing in the world. I'm here in this place and the weather's beautiful and the people up here have been exceedingly kind. Canadians are just friendlier people, and it's made a big difference in my trip. I guess I've been looking at this trip as a work trip. You know, I shouldn't look at it as a job. YouTube certainly does not pay me enough money for me to work so hard that it becomes like a real job. You know, I'm out here to have fun, and I just want to have fun, and that's really all I want to say. You know, the first step for me yesterday was kind of acknowledging and recognizing that this trip has not become fun anymore. But the second step is to say, you know what? I want it to be fun. And I think it can be fun. I might have to do things a little different. I might not have to be such a stickler. You know, things like, am I filming it the way that I want to? Is it perfect cinematography? Does it look as beautiful and sensual? Am I crafting the golden experience? You know, fuck all that. Fuck all that. It is what it is. But some things have to change. You know, maybe I'm not going to camp as much. Maybe I'll give myself the luxury of staying in some hotels or motels a little more often. I don't know. I'm just being completely honest about this and telling you that I do want to persevere. I want to keep going. I want to keep filming, but things are going to change because I just want to have a good time. I want to have some fun on this trip, okay? So here I am at my office in the forest on Vancouver Island, backing up media. That means I can reformat these cards, which is always a scary thing to do because once they're reformatted, that footage is gone unless it lives on this little hard drive. I might just double check to make sure everything is there because I don't want to lose anything. Okay, let's get out of this mosquito infested forest here and go have some fun. See, these are the nice campsites with all of the netted bug screen enclosures, and they got the his and her chairs. You know, that's where the good people sleep. The people that aren't homeless motorcyclists like me. That's what I've been feeling like lately. It's like I'm a homeless person with a motorcycle. This is where I took my shower last night. It had really nice, good hot water. I'm gonna go check out the activity down on the dock, say goodbye to the friendly folks that run this place, and maybe take one last look at this little inlet here. You have such a nice fire. It's a big fire today. Well, this has been quite a pleasure in its own way to meet the host of this campground. He's been with his wife for 60 years, and he has to leave and go back into Gold River every 3 days to take care of her because she's not doing well. And he said she has to do it herself. He told her, you use it or you lose it. And she seems to be of the mind that she's not using it anymore, which is sad. Sad for him and sad for her. But she's 83 years old, and they have been together for 60 years. And I can tell that he still cares about her and takes care of her, takes care of his little campsite. Good people, really good people. Quite a little forested dirt road getting out of here, which is kind of cool. It keeps it isolated and remote, which just adds to the character and the experience of coming out to a place like this. The old man back there running the campsite told me that he built this road, and a while back some agency or person decided they wanted to put in a public campground next to his They had all these plans for it, and they were going to charge less than him, and it was going to take away from his business. And then he asked him, how are you going to get into your campground? And they said, well, we're going to use the road. And he said, you mean the road that I built? His road? He didn't want that happening, and it doesn't look like it did happen. So I just had to stop on the side of the road here to show you guys something that I just saw when I went over this bridge right here. No sign for it, no name for it, just your typical waterfall. Drops and cascades down and down and down, and then there's a big pool. I'm sure they're all over the place on the island here, but this particular one just caught my eye, and I don't know, it's really beautiful. That's where I camped last night, 15 kilometers down this road here. The other sign says, caution active hauling, because this is a working logging area. A lot of the forests here are managed, so just bear that in mind if you do come here. And now I'm going back on the main road that'll take me back to Gold River. As you saw, my dinner last night didn't work out very well. I could barely eat it, and all I had this morning was just like a little power bar sort of thing. I can work with this. This looks pretty good. This is just what I'm talking about. This is a fun breakfast. Okay, this is where I turn to go to Was, 63 kilometers. Warning signs for logging trucks, active logging road. You can see these big giant logs. They don't look like they've been freshly cut at all, but they're just laying here on the side of the road. And you know, this one here, it's got to be 4 feet across. Clearly evidence of the size of trees that are, you know, removed from the island up here. And there's these bridges. I do want to point out that they have some pretty low guardrails, and there's a transition from the gravel surface to whatever the bridge is made out of. And so you really want to be mindful of that when you find these bridges. You could very easily go over the edge on your motorcycle here. The roads I'm riding on today, they're part of what is known as the North Island 1000, an off-road motorcycle journey on the back roads through northern Vancouver Island. And so it's basically a set of tracks through the different logging roads and forest roads in this area out to different coastal regions and some small towns along the way. They have a website, and they've put a lot of effort into putting out some descriptions about the places you can see along the way. To me personally, this sort of feels sort of like the equivalent of a backcountry discovery route. So now as I'm out poking around this part of the island, if you know the opportunity presents itself like today, I want to ride some of these roads and check them out. I was able to get the GPS tracks downloaded onto my Zumo XT, which is awesome. And look at this. What a great little road through the forest. It's not like the logging road I was on this morning. This one is only a single lane and different character. About the road that I'm on today itself, it's kind of like your basic forest logging road. It's pretty slippery. It's a very hard packed surface, but with
gravel, loose gravel spread on the top of it. So pretty easy to break traction around corners. I'm taking it pretty gently. Side note, I'm running some TKC 70 tires. I switched out after the Oregon BDR because I wanted something that was a little more street oriented, figuring I'd be doing more pavement and only some, you know, roads like this as far as the more challenging stuff goes. So I'm using a TKC 70, which are kind of a 70-30 tire, 70% on-road, 30% off-road. This road that I've been traveling down is just pure delight. It's wider than a single lane, but not always quite. 2 lanes and beautiful scenery. This lake right here is so picturesque. It's really a beautiful day, and it's cooled off a good bit. I'm really happy right now. I'm really happy to be up here on this dirt road away from cars and traffic and civilization, and it just feels so good. And I just wanted to stop here and share that with you and share this magnificent view of this location. It's just one of many that I've found on this road, and I'm following the track for the North Island 1000. I'm actually north of the town of Woss, W-O-S-S, and I'm heading up towards Port McNeil. I'm looking on the GPS here because I have the tracks loaded on my GPS now, so I can actually follow them, which is totally awesome. So it looks like pretty soon I'll be able to branch off and go up to a place called Telegraph Cove, or kind of curve over to the left and go towards Port McNeil, I think. But I did find this nice picturesque scenic overlook here, and it says that this is the Nimkish Valley, and I saw this as I was driving down the hill. The logging operation was down below me, and I took some pictures of that from up above in the air to show you what that operation looks like here. And it's just it's a beautiful scenic location here where the woods and the forest meets the water and the ocean, and logging takes place. Then, quite suddenly, I find myself behind a long string of cars led by a tour bus. That can only mean one thing. I've arrived at a destination. In this case, it's a place called Telegraph Cove. Very picturesque and scenic, and I would have liked to have spent a little more time there, but that it was a little too crowded with tourists, and I didn't want to stop and get mixed up in all of that. Well, it's a beautiful afternoon, and I'm going to continue down the road and see where I end up later. So now we're coming down into the big logging operation that I could see up above. Oops, there's a deer. Aww. Oh, this road is a ripper. I love this one. I would really like to come back here and ride the whole North Island 1000 someday. The little bit that I've tasted seems like it's right up my alley. Something, again, quite like a BDR perhaps. Several hundred miles of backcountry dirt roads through the northern tip of Vancouver Island. Cool things to see and do along the way. Camping, small towns. Well, and as you can see, we're back on the water again. Fresh sea breeze in the air. A marina, a harbor, a ferry. There's a brewery, everything you need.